place to be is living free in Tennessee.
Welcome to Living Free in Tennessee, where we talk about building the life you choose on your terms. Today is Monday. It's Friday, November 22nd, 2024, and this is episode 975 of Living Free in Tennessee. And it's a Friday, so it's a Homestead Happenings Day, and I forgot to turn on my mic, so that's why I was muted. Things are getting a little bit back to normal here. As you can see, Tactical Redneck was late, not me, so it's sort of back to a balance at the homestead. What we're going to talk about today is that the first cold snap has really come through. Like, we had some cold in October, but then it just got hot again, which is great if you have a new pool, just for the record. And then now we have the actual frosts that are killing the peppers and that sort of thing rolling through this week. So we'll talk about what we're doing about that. We have new life in the holler. Do we still have new life?
As far as I know,
okay.
I didn't actually look at them.
Yeah, we don't like to poke too much on the cold mornings. We're going to talk about fencing, everybody's favorite topic on the homestead, and anything you bring up in the live stream. I see we've got Pippinized, we've got Dan, we've got Beth Emily, and I thought I saw Pack Rat earlier. Yep, Pack Rat is here. Martinson family, welcome. Homestead Glamour, hello. Anyway, it's good to see you guys in the live chat. If you want to bring up a topic, put the word question or topic in all caps, and then you can write your things. That way these aging eyes can see what's going on. Also, my Zap stream is not working today over on Noster. Sorry about that. I'm sure it's because I'm out of sats over there and I haven't refilled the sats. So I'll deal with that next week. This is my first week back from Jack Spirko's workshop, and we're in like holiday coffee shopping season. The Holler Roast BBs just like launched right before I went to Jack's, and they're in stock now. So they're starting to ship and people are ordering them. So they're just really pretty. Isn't that pretty?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Anyway, let's thank our first sponsor of today's show, the Wealth Studying Podcast. John Pugliano of the Wealth Studying Podcast has supported the show since we launched the supporting option. No, he's supported the show the whole time, though. He comes to every one of our events. He is very giving of his time and presents, and he has a lot of great information about the state of the state and how he's making financial decisions in his investment money management business. So definitely somebody you want to talk to, especially as you're building the life you choose on your terms. Check out his podcast, thewealthstudyingpodcast.com. Everything he says on there is free. He does not hide information. He does not have a upgrade to my subscription system. He just talks to you about what's up. And you can even sign up for his email, and that's pretty insightful too, I find. Yeah. So check it out, thewealthstudyingpodcast.com. Our second sponsor of today's show is Discount Mylar Bags. Toby from Discount Mylar Bags has a superpower. Everybody has a superpower.
Yeah.
What's your superpower?
Doing redneck things.
Doing redneck things. Okay. Mine is connecting people. I do it in the background, and then great things happen when the right people talk to each other. Toby's superpower is basically finding things in bulk, negotiating a good price, and passing that on to you. Check out more at discountmylarbags.com. And also, if you just want to go learn about how to store food logically, he's put a lot of thought into that. On the upper right-hand side of his website, he has some thoughts on what size bags to choose for a family of 4 or 2 or any of those things. So check that out. And he has other food storage solutions. And I mean, last I checked, he had a Harvest Right situation where he sells harvest rights as well. So he also sells some of the food preservation things. So Marcy, welcome to the show. Patrick, Henry, good to see you. Woohoo!
Marcy says she retired.
Retired last week from my job. Marcy, congratulations. You're building the dream. Patrick, I got to talk to you about something. I want a very clear description of what happens to my EMP shield device if like lightning strikes the pole and it does the thing where it saves the day. Does it get fried and the power go out? Does it get fried and the power stays on? I'm just curious. We need to have that talk. Maybe we'll do it live on our next live. I go live with Patrick from time to time.
Yeah.
Anyway, good to see you in the audience. We also have a featured event, and that is for the next 10-ish days. We have the Black Friday sale at Holler Roast Coffee. That's right. This happens every year. And if you wait till right now to order your gifts at hollerroast.com, you get free gift wrapping upgrade to your whatever you have. And that's over at hollerroast.com. You just add gift wrapping and it won't charge you the money that I usually charge to gift wrap after Cyber Saturday. So starting yesterday through Cyber Saturday, you can order stuff for gifts for people. Tell me where you want to ship it. Put in the notes what a handwritten note should be on the card, and that will be set up for your Christmas gifts. It makes Christmas gift shopping easy. And you can even get one of these for $35 with lovely coffee in it and send it out with a card. And then you don't have to do any work at all. And this tin is really awesome because it like has a gasket. So it's the gift that keeps giving. They can keep keeping their coffee in the tin. It's my favorite new product.
Yeah.
Yeah. We also have K-cups in a tin as well. That's a different shape, but that's all over at hollerroast.com. Just go there and click on the coffee shop. You will see some changes on the homepage, but gift wrapping is free. So that's our featured event. What do you think about that? Do you think I'm going to be gift wrapping a lot this year?
I have no idea.
Yeah. Do you know who wants to be on the podcast?
Mr. Tigger.
Mr. Tigger has joined the podcast. Mr. Tigger hasn't been feeling very good lately. So he keeps coming in to talk to me about how he's not feeling great. And then he wants me to turn his heating pad on. Mr. Tigger is going to be 18 in April. So
Mr. Tigger's an old man.
He's been around a while. So we think he's been giving us some early indications. Anyway, yeah. Oh, no, Patrick, we should have that talk on the air too, by the way, about EMP Shield, because I think people are curious about that. And I know I've put 2 devices in here and we're going to end up putting in a third, probably a fourth. The third's going to go on the solar system. The fourth is going to go on the Glamper system. But yeah, apparently all the cats are joining the show today. This is Mortimer.
I found what Tigger was complaining about.
Like Tigger has started complaining. And this is the cat where you would shut him in somewhere and he just wouldn't say anything. Now he's like, hey, I went to my bed and somebody else was in my bed. Can you get that person out of my bed, please? So he's like grumpy old man cat now. And this has only started happening like that. The tattling on other cats has only started in about the last 3 weeks. He's a tattletale, man. Anyway, and that's life on the homestead. That's, we got all the pets doing the pet things. I have aging animals. So I've been learning a lot about aging animals. You guys know I lost Sage. And that was my first experience with an aging dog. So that wasn't very fun. And when I got out of the vet's office from that incident, I looked at him and I was like, I have to do this 2 more times because I have 2 more dogs. And I had lost cats and they wrecked me too, but I don't know why the dog was harder. I think I had a closer connection.
Attachment to the dogs.
Yeah, that particular dog too. So good morning, Palm Lou and Sarah. Oh, Sarah's in the show. Hi, Sarah. Look, we have really cool tins. Okay. I think I might be seeing your husband in December and then he can see the cool tins too. But I don't know. I hadn't talked to him about if he's going to John Willis's party. I just assumed. He keeps showing up at things. So that's the way it is. Okay. Do you want to actually talk about the show today?
Sure.
You want to talk about stuff? Okay. So I asked him, what are we going to talk about today? And he's like, fencing. And here's the thing about this redneck and fencing. Like, fencing is a broad topic and it could go on for a very long time. So then I said, what about fencing? Oh, see, there's the annual noise, the annual opening of the fizzy water on mic.
Turn that on into
I mean, like, seriously, you could just open it out there and then come in here and leave the lid off. And then it doesn't make that noise again.
It's more fun this way.
He's trolling me, guys. Anyway. I was talking about something. Fencing. So I said, what about fencing? And he said, well, how the goat fence failed while Nicole was away. So he was working on a fencing project with goats and he was naive. Tell them what you did to yourself. It's all your fault.
there was no naivety to this.
All his fault.
I knew going in, I was like, this is gonna suck. There is no good way to do this because I've got to pull part of the goat fence down while the goats are in there. And in theory, they do know about the electric. So it's like, I'm going to string 3 strands of electric up right next to where the fence is coming out at.
And when was the last time you had the goats out with 3 strands of electric?
It's been a while.
It's been like 40 years in goat years.
And it was fine at first, and then it wasn't. And then Clover figured out apparently she could, like, I don't know, sprint through it or something. And then I got part of the hard fence back up, and there's a gap underneath the fence because there's just our terrain. So I had a row of logs piled up, and I'm going back in to put dirt in between the logs to build that area up to the bottom of the fence. And I had the electric strung up right next to the hard fence. And apparently Clover was under the impression that she could go through the electric and squeeze in between the logs and the hard fence, and that did not work out too well, as was indicated to me by the electric being strung across the ground. So I don't know how much she got zapped in that whole evolution. And then she kind of figured it out after that, but I've still got one more section of the hard fence that's not presently there. And I've got to get one more piece of a post in before I can restring that section. And she hasn't tested the electric fence that's over in that area. So I think she figured it out again.
Yes, she did. You know what? I have a question for you.
Okay.
When rednecks queue up on Zello and say blankety blank 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 out of the fencing blankety blank 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 and then queue off, and that's all they say, does that mean I would like your help? Or does that mean I need to vent to somebody because I'm frustrated?
Could be either or. But
it never says, hey, can you come help me? It's always blankety blank blank, sheep are out or goats are out.
The last time that happened was like 10 minutes before you went live. And it was like, is this enough of an issue to stall a live stream? And I was just like, I'm going to deal with it. And so I queued up and vented and like called it good. But that sheep was not happy because she wound up she was in another paddock that they were about to go to. I was like, well, she ain't going anywhere else. So you can just stay there by yourself until
everybody joins you
from town.
Yeah.
And I eventually got everybody else moved into that paddock, but she was not happy about being separated from everybody else. And it's like, well, it's your own fault. You're the one that skipped the fence, not me.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to continue either not responding or ignoring it unless you're like explicit about, and I need you to come over.
I think I'm pretty good about saying, like, if I actually require help, I'm usually pretty good about saying I need somebody else to come over here.
Yeah, the last time he required help, he also required that I bring a specific firearm, which actually made me move slower rather than faster, because I'm like, okay, I'm going to make sure I have everything I need when this particular firearm is out before I leave, so I don't have to come back and forth 4 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was better to be a little bit slow, but with everything than not. And then I'm driving, with the rifle. And of course I come across another holler neighbor who's instantly interested in what's going on. So then all the holler neighbors ended up involved in one way or another on that one. But turned out we didn't need to shoot anything.
Fortunately.
Yeah. What are you looking at, amused?
There's a bird.
Oh, it's my visitor bird. It's my finch. Is that a finch? That's not a finch. I don't know what that is. Anyway, there's a bird. My window bird is here. He kept looking over there and looking amused. That's my window bird that starts my window in the morning. Tick, tick, tick. That's like my alarm clock now.
Yeah.
And no, Margot, I still haven't hung a shower curtain outside. I'm actually not upset because he wakes me up about the time. That was actually she. She wakes me up about the time I want to get up. So right now it's okay. Okay. The lambs they have a process date in January.
Yep.
And we are on the wait list, and we'll probably have them done in the next few weeks due to a cancellation. So when there's a cancellation, they call us and we can just bring them. So I did launch at livingfreeintennessee.com deposits for lamb. And how that works is it's $8 a pound hanging weight. They usually weigh between 30 and 60 pounds. I expect these to be on the lighter side. And then you do your own cut sheet if you get a whole lamb, and you pay the butcher. And then we'll drop them off at the butcher. I'll even pick up your meat for you. That's fine. And we arrange a handoff. I have one lamb available. So it's either 2 halves or 1 whole. And that's at livingfreeintennessee.com if you want to get it. Once you pay the deposit, I'll reach out to you to make arrangements for like all of the processing and that sort of stuff and scheduling. And then, as I said, our date is in January, but I expect next week or the week after I'm going to get the call. It'll probably be like, hey, it's Thanksgiving. Can you drop rams off? Right?
Very well.
I don't think they process on that day because they don't do it. So it's a processor that you can have non-USDA processing or USDA processing. And that means that for USDA, they process exactly the same way, but they are observing what's going on. They have a USDA person, so that costs more. So I personally prefer non-USDA for mine because it doesn't really change anything. Ram or lamb? They are lambs, but they are male, and they are St. Croix, so you don't have an issue with the males having a weird taste. They are under a year old. They were born in March and April last year. So I like to process at about 9 months. So it's 100% lamb. I think the definition is over 12 months becomes mutton.
Okay.
There's some in between phase. I forget the word, but I so like for a tenderness factor, I prefer around 9 months. 6 months, they're still kind of scrawny at 6 months here.
Yeah.
And that's because we're not grain feeding them. So that's if I was grain feeding them, they'd be grown out faster, but they are grass fed. They've had a few grain treats over the months, but nothing else. No antibiotics, no vaccinations, no worming medication on any of these. We didn't have any issues with them. So if there are issues, I don't sell that one. That's one we'll keep for us. So yeah, that's the whole deal. What happened with the rabbit? So I wrote something down wrong. I wrote down the date that the rabbits were bred wrong in the calendar. Oops. And so I was sure that we hadn't gotten any rabbits off the last breeding because it was still kind of warm out. It had only been below 80 degrees for a week. And I was like, well, maybe he wasn't ready, And then tactical burst through there's been a lot of tactical bursting through the door, saying things and slamming the door this week. So burst through the door, looked at me, and I'm like, oh no, what's wrong? He's like, there's baby rabbits. Closes the door. And I'm like, why are you concerned? He's like, it's going to be cold tonight. I'm like, of course it's going to be cold tonight.
I think they wait until it's going to be cold. I don't know if they get a text message or an email alert, but
they can sense the atmospheric pressure.
Actually, they probably can.
That's my theory. It's like when there's going to be a bad blizzard, you're going to drop lambs that day if they have them ready to go. They're like, oh, now's a good time.
Yeah, there's a theory that I don't think they've confirmed that animals can sense the disturbances in the Earth's electromagnetic field when there's an earthquake or a tsunami or something coming. You're
an animal too. That means you can. I think humans can. So here's something I was talking about with Amy about yesterday, which is something that will be produced as an audio podcast before this one is, which means for my audio listeners, this is coming out probably Saturday, unless I just drop 2 episodes on Friday. But we were talking about how she and I will get on the same wavelength, having not talked to each other, not even looked at each other's stuff because we're super busy. And we'll be talking. She'll be writing a post about something and I'll be doing a podcast about the same topic.
Yeah.
Like how much of that is related to sensing the Earth's electromagnetic fields, or like you'll notice people get all stressed out at one time during cycles of the moon.
Yeah, I mean,
there's something.
There's a lot of that stuff that scientists don't have any grasp of.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the topic I was not expecting to talk about, but here we are. Hey, it's cold.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it?
Got a fire going.
I've got a fire going out in there, I see. That's okay. It's not that cold in here. I am in like my shirt that Dorothy Spirko gave to me that says drink coffee, read books, and be happy. That doesn't actually happen on the homestead. I mean, it does happen, but it's not like you can just spend all day reading a book here.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was like, it's a little chilly in my house. And my usual short sleeve tee is not going to cut it for this show because that fire is not coming to life the way I wanted it to this morning.
Yeah, I haven't checked to see what mine's doing.
Yeah. I almost did a video this morning about when you get up because we're at this time of year where I let the stove go like down to coals and even maybe go out at night because about 2:00 this morning, it was way too hot in the house because it was cold last night. I closed this door, I closed the bathroom door. So I was heating less space. I wake up, I'm like, oh no. And then I opened up this door and I opened up the bathroom door to like let the cold air out. And then I sat in bed with no blankets. I was like, what have I done? And then, so I didn't add a log to the fire last night. And then I got up this morning and I was like, oh, okay, it's out, whatever. I'll start a new one whenever it gets cold enough to start a new one. And then I scraped back the ashes because I needed to scoop ashes. And there was like really nice big coals. And I was like, well, I can kind of get a low burn fire going this morning. So I scooped I put the coals on one side and the ashes on the other, took the ashes out and then got it. I almost made a video about how I get my fire started in the morning, particularly since my torch is out of propane.
Yeah, I had similar situation this morning where there was enough coals left to get something going again, because this is the part of the year that I find irritating where it's like every single night you actually have to get a fire going as opposed to
keep the fire going. Yeah,
there's a ton of coals in there, so you just scrape everything to the middle and throw logs on top of it.
Yeah, well, and that's what happens like when it's more consistently cold, because we were up around 45 or 50 yesterday. I had my first cold swim, like real cold swim yesterday. And it's still not like upper 40s, low 40s, upper 30s. When it's getting into that range and then going into the 20s at night, I know all my Montana listeners are like, whatever, Nicole. But anyway, when it does that, then I just keep the fire going all the time. And it's not like, okay, cut the kindling, start the fire. Okay, cut the kindling, start the fire. So I got back from town last night pretty late for me. Like it was after dark. It was an hour later than I usually start cooking dinner. And it was just that I had thrown myself onto the grace of the gods that run the grocery stores on Thursday before Thanksgiving because I needed to do errands. So I knew it was going to be annoying to go to town on Thursday and do errands. And one of the errands I needed to do was to get a few supplies that I don't just keep on hand for things I'm making for Thanksgiving dinner next week. And I also know that the closer we get to Thanksgiving until about Tuesday, it's just a madhouse. But I intend to have like my cheesecake done. I'm not going to cook my cheesecake Wednesday. I'm going to cook it Tuesday. So I wasn't going to wait till Tuesday, go to the store, cook the cheesecake, right? So that, and then the truck needed an oil change and all this other stuff. I had this whole long list of things, including going to Lowe's, which I thought was going to be a nightmare. And I also wanted to get a swimming workout in. So I got my swimming workout in. Like I finished like the show with Amy Dingman, did like the show producing things for the Tuesday live, and then gathered all my things to leave improperly because they didn't leave with all my things did not leave with me, and then went to town. And I'm like, okay, so it's after 3:30 p.m. on Thursday before Thanksgiving. I'm screwed. And I was like, every parking spot in the lot was full. I did the oil change first. That took forever because you know what yesterday was?
well, I was gonna say national, but more like regional low tire pressure.
It was
day.
regional low tire pressure day because it was like the first decently cold spell long enough for people to realize their tires were low. So there was like tire after tire after tire coming in front of my oil change. And they were like, "What's going on?" And I was like, "It got cold." And the guy's like, "Oh yeah." So I didn't get to the grocery store till 4:30. And 4:30 is when I usually start cooking dinner here. Like I don't cook for the whole hour or two before dinner, but I start it so that it's underway. Yeah, and then I went in the grocery store, and the good news is, like last time I was in the grocery store Sunday after being at Jack's, people looked pretty stressed out about things.
No.
This time they were at least in a decent mood and not freaking out about the prices. So there's that. And they were not out of everything. Sunday they were kind of semi out of all the things you would want for Thanksgiving. So that's probably something adding to the layer of stress. But I didn't get home till late. And then my house was cold because I didn't start a fire before I left. And then I'm like, I got to load all the stuff in and put the freezer things in the freezer and the fridge things in the fridge. And I need to cook dinner. So screw the fire. I'll deal with that after dinner. And I start cooking dinner and I hear tunk, 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 which is the sound of somebody else cutting kindling. So thank you for making my fire last night because it was going to be another hour before I was going to get to it.
I was cold in here.
Yeah, so it's because he was cold. But, that was like really nice because usually when I'm alone, it's like, okay, get the dinner. Well, I probably wouldn't have been as panicked about getting dinner up either if I wasn't cooking for somebody else. But yeah, it was just a whole thing that happened yesterday. And that's what heating with wood is like at this season when you're making a new fire is that you're making the new fire and you have to fit that into your day. And if you don't, then you're cold. That's just the way it is. Okay, tell me about the perimeter fence we've been working on for 5 years.
It's one of those that it's not, I mean, it hasn't really been a huge priority for me. It would be nice to be able to let the dogs out, but at the same time, it's like the scale of what was going to be necessary to get that done was astronomical. And so there was a couple of sections where it's like I've got part of it, and then there was some questions about, are we going to do this over here or do that over here? And so it's like I'm not going to string that section of fence yet until we make a decision. Now talking about some other stuff, it's like, okay, I'm going to get that stretched. And then while you were gone, I got the actual post in place for the gate down by the pump house. I've still got to get supports in for that, but it's like, that's a small section. Once I get that in place, then, that it's basically like one whole side of the perimeter fence, or 3 sides of the perimeter fence is basically going to be completed. And then there's one weird section that I'm going to have to figure something out, and I haven't decided what that's going to look like yet. But if I can get everything else done, then I can actually put some middle bandwidth into go down there with a cup of coffee and stare at it until I figure something out.
So how's that going to go when they replace my swim spa with a different one?
Huh?
Like going through the gate with the backy-uppy things.
Be a slightly tighter fit.
They're going to love that.
I mean, it's like the gate by the pump house is only going to cut off, well, probably nothing, actually. Okay. I think that post is far enough back that you wouldn't really be able to, I mean.
We may have to take the gate all the way off so it's just not there sticking out. Yeah. I don't expect to have to get another swim spa anytime soon, but one day it will happen.
In pieces.
Yeah. Tactical's like, I've started a monster. No, it's the new one that needs to come in that has to get up. Although when you change swim spots, sometimes people want your old one. This week was really funny because our friend Ryan was fixing, so the roof of the roasting shack has had wasps getting up in there. And so he was like great stuffing anything that looked like a wasp could get in it. and he was on the roof, like exactly at the time I'm going to go work out at 2 p.m. And I'm like, so I'm just going to work out in the swim spa. Don't be bothered. He's like, oh, that's awkward, Nicole. Because he's like got a bird's eye view of it. And I was like, well, while you're up there, can you take some pictures? So that's how we got that video done. But yeah, it was great. I love that thing. I swim in it every day. Yesterday, I almost didn't swim in it because everything was so time crunched. And I was like, nope, I'm going to do the thing I want to do. And then I'm going to get home late. So that's the deal with the swim spa every single day. So the Rams are on their second trip through my property and Nighthawk's property, right?
Yes.
Have they been all the way through his property once already?
Yeah, they've been through everything once, and they're in the second paddock going back through a second time.
Did they go to the pond?
They were in most of the pond. There was a section of the pond where it was pointless to put them over there because nothing has grown back. So it was like, there's not even a point in running them over there.
Yeah. So why are you running them through twice and then going back and cutting out all the scrub and stuff? Why wait for 2 times?
Well, I mean, it's kind of a situation right now where, they went through, ate all the cake and ice cream, left some stuff behind. So I intentionally did not go clear anything after they went through the first time because they were probably coming through a second time, and I wanted to leave whatever was there for them to eat the second time through. And then once they come through the second time, they'll probably clear stuff out a little bit more, and it just makes it easier to, if nothing else, just be able to see what's there. So on my death list is privet and a couple of other things. So it's like, once they've been through twice, it's usually fairly easy to see, okay, that's privet, that's privet, that's privet, and just go through and whack all of that and then throw seed for something else in there, and we'll see what comes back up in the spring.
Yeah, plus the seed bank that's there, things will come up that are appropriate for sheep, which is an interesting thing that happens when you graze.
Yeah.
Things you didn't plant come up that sheep love.
Yeah.
Almost as if Mother Nature meant for that to happen.
It does.
So if you listened, so I was on Jack Spirko's show on Wednesday, and if you listen to how much time he's putting in, part of why he's still putting in a lot of time is he is selectively getting rid of plants he doesn't want there by hand, instead of just doing like a mow of everything after sheep come through and just letting it be what it is.
Yeah, and then, I mean, there's an aspect of, like, I left a bunch of privet in some places because need something there.
And the sheep love to eat that, actually.
Yeah.
So.
And now that there's other stuff coming in, it's like, okay, now I'll go on and drop that. And then there's some of it that I've actually, like, some of the privet was, 20 feet tall, and the sheep can't actually get to anything on it. So I cut it off at like 4 foot and let it come back, expend a bunch of its caloric energy, putting out new shoots that the sheep can actually get to. They'll graze it, which expends more caloric energy. And then eventually it'll either just die, or I'll go cut it the rest of the way to the ground once I get something else coming in there.
So I noticed the ducks are laying eggs again.
Yes.
Does that make you happy?
Yes.
How many eggs were down there this morning?
I did not look this morning.
Okay. Did you get the eggs yesterday?
Yeah, I think there was
6.
6.
Yeah.
Might have been 7 yesterday. I can't remember.
Yep. So that's good, because we were forced to eat chicken eggs. So now I can actually get rid of the chickens.
Yeah.
Anybody who wants an American breast flock of chickens probably should reach out to me and say, I want those chickens.
Yeah.
I have a male and 3 females. Guaranteed to set their eggs and then not do well on the holler free ranging because other things get the babies. So think about that if you're going to do it. Like, have a way for them to be not free ranging if you're using them for reproduction. But it's very nice. I'm actually surprised they're starting to come back now.
Well, I think it's the vitamin
It's the
water.
vitamin water. Okay, yeah. So, because I thought they were molting, and when they molt, it's like 45 days no eggs.
I kind of halfway thought they were molting too, and then apparently not.
Okay, so what's going to happen next is they're going to molt because it is that time of year. Jerusalem artichoke. So we talked about Jerusalem artichokes as a plant you mark in September, October when it's blooming. You like either you make a mental note where it is because you know what the roots look like, or you mark them with like, I don't know, surveyor's tape or something like that. And then that tells you where to go look when it's time to actually tap into Jerusalem artichokes. And the time is here. So I have a couple of patches that I've marked and I will dig some up. And then what I do is I store them in the ground. And if I want Jerusalem artichokes, I'll go dig them up. If you are cultivating Jerusalem artichokes, this is when you thin out the roots so you have more production. I'm not trying to get like perfect production from the Jerusalem artichokes because we don't eat a lot of them, but I may build some into Thanksgiving. If not, we may have a thing, definitely Christmas. So Christmas is going to be more of one of my traditional meals because I'm cooking that here. And what I'm seeking to do with that meal is mostly source the things from here or from other friends that have grown things, with the exception of I want a tomahawk steak. And if I can't get that from my cow, then I'm just going to buy a commercial one. But I'm hoping to get what I need to do tomahawk steaks from my cow. It just depends on the timing of my cow. And then I have to talk to the butcher who I'll be talking to about the lamb anyway. By the way, half a lamb sold while we were on this show. So thank you, Bonnie, for buying half a lamb. There's half of the lamb left for sale. Anyway, the Jerusalem artichokes are something I'll probably get some out. When you harvest them, they have like they're a funny shape and dirt gets all caught up in there. I like to use a brush. I like soak them in water, walk away, do something, come back, use a brush to get the dirt off. And then I'll cut them so that because they're like, they almost look like ginger roots. So you know how those have like arms and things, but they're more circular. So I'll cut them off at the low points. And then you can peel them or not peel them. It's up to you. If you peel them, then you guarantee you don't end up with dirt on your Jerusalem artichoke. But it just depends how scrubbing them goes. And the bigger ones are easier to deal with than the small ones. And then you can grate them fresh on salad. That will give you gas, which is why people call them fartichokes. Or if you cook them, that really reduces the amount of gaseous inputs. So I like to just make mashed Jerusalem artichoke. That's hard to say. Yeah, so like the mashed potato version or a puree of Jerusalem artichoke and add garlic and butter, and it is delicious. So that's definitely in our future. And I just wanted to point out that at this point, they've put their energy back into their roots here in Tennessee. So it's not a bad time to harvest them. I also have ground nuts that I need to look at and move if they made it through the summer, which they may or may not have made it through the summer of no rain. And they were in a pot that did not get watered very much. So we'll see what happened there. I know that some of the hops made it.
Yes.
But there's going to be a whole pot audit. And I don't mean like pot. I mean like all of the pots that were outside that didn't get taken care of this summer. I need to see what's left in there. And then they're going to be built into the landscape. I will use some of those pots for decoration under Taj Mahal, but I'm going to automate their watering as part of that project, which means it's very likely that project doesn't get done in the next 12 months because I have other more important watering systems to set up. I have a whole raised garden to set up.
Yeah,
so yeah, that's a whole thing. So if you were paying attention, in October, I went through and harvested all my green tomatoes and put them on my counter. And then as they've been turning red or whatever color they're supposed to be, black, then I have sliced them up and used them or cooked them into sauce or whatever I was going to do. And at this point, I am down to 4 tomatoes are left that haven't turned red and they're turning red. So I think for the first time ever, I'm not going to have the green tomato fry because they didn't turn red. So that's not bad, guys. Like I just left them there and it was like extending the tomato season without extending the tomato season with manual interventions with the plants. Now, I think had I let them go through that frost, they would have been fine and we would have gotten tomatoes for another 4 weeks. Maybe. Yeah.
Like my peppers still have peppers on, but they're not like the actual peppers that are on aren't getting any bigger, and they're not putting on new peppers.
And that's a light issue.
I mean,
it's probably a light issue.
I think it's a light and a temperature issue.
Yeah.
But
so I pulled back the shade cloth. I feel like they would have been okay, but I don't know. We also need to clean the top of Taj Mahal because it's very dusty, and that's going to be a different fun project. So that was how that worked this year. That's the first time I've gotten every single one of my tomatoes to turn red. And so I've been sneaking them in salads all week. Did you notice?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes he eats so fast, I'm not sure he tastes what's being served. Marine.
Force of habit.
Yeah. Yeah. The chard patch, which is my first raised bed in the new garden location, I came back from Jack's and it was like it had exploded. And the only difference between before I left and after I came back that I am aware of is that I put up the anti-chicken defense system because they kept getting up in there and like scratching stuff. And well, hello, Chestnut's joining the live stream too. So they kept getting up there and scratching out my plants and digging them up, and then I had to put them back in. So it's really funny because half the bed has like big, beautiful plants, and the other one has mid-sized, beautiful plants. The mid-sized area is where they got dug up 5 times by chickens.
Yeah.
But they lived. And I think it's just because it got a little cooler and rain happened.
Yeah. You got another reason for the chickens.
You didn't sneak in with some like compost tea while I was gone, did you?
I did not touch that bed at all.
Okay. So that's great.
Which is the point.
Right. That is the point. I have it covered with plastic right now because we've been cold, and chard can live through that. But I still haven't built my hoop system there. So it's just being held up by the anti-chicken defense system. AJ, welcome to the live stream. AJ's joining his wife in the live stream under a different account. Be sure to like so I get extra likes, AJ. We can get the algorithm going. Anyway, the last pepper harvest is happening now. So we've let the freeze hit the peppers. My jalapenos are under Taj Mahal so they don't get frost until it gets really, really cold under there. But it's time to get all the peppers in and any other herbs that are still alive in the yard that we want to process.
Yeah, I looked.
I feel like oregano. I could use more oregano.
I mean, there's tons of oregano.
And I like thyme.
There's a bunch of thyme.
Yeah, so we have to like time that for time. We have to time that for when I can actually process them right away because I have that like herb stripper piece of pottery I got from Rachel, and it works best when they're like within a half hour to an hour of harvesting. You just pull them through those holes and it takes the leaves off. And this time, what I'd like to do is put the fresh herbs in the freezer. Besides if I'm cooking with them, because I've been drying them and then you just like take them off the stick, right? But I'd like to do some fresh herbs in the freezer for use this winter. So if we can time that this weekend where you help me get them harvested and then I'll process them, that would be great. But I also want to make a rabbit tractor and paint the roasting shack.
No.
Kiri, welcome. Kiri has time to watch a live stream. I can't believe it. I got a text from Amanda last night. What goodies are you bringing to the SOE party? And I was like, well, I'm doing sipping chocolate, which is melted chocolate and milk. It's not like that powdery stuff. And it's delicious. And I've tasted like 4 different kinds of chocolate to decide which one I like best. And then I'm adding some holler vanilla to it and serving it. The first 20 people get a cup that they can keep that's custom done. We're not done making those, but they're almost done. And then I'm also going to have coffee, like the normal drip coffee. And you can buy it by the cup, or you can buy a cup and have a bottomless cup as a result of buying your, like the insulated mug or the ceramic mug. And then we also will offer espresso shots because I'll have my espresso machine there. Sorry, Tactical, you're going to have to do without the espresso machine. Chestnut's blanket is like in the doorway. She walks around like a dog with a robe on. And then I'm also going to mix the two, the sipping chocolate and the espresso, and then it becomes a mocha. Yeah. So that'll be pretty tasty. Depending on head count and time of how many people are camping, we may offer some pastries. I don't know yet. because it depends on how many people are camping. And I haven't asked Carrie that, how many have told her that they are camping just for that morning, the Saturday morning. And the last thing that's going to happen for people who become Holler Roast members, you can choose your membership sign-up bonus, and it's either a bottomless mug or the new signature Holler Roast cocktail that was developed at Jack Spirko's, which is delicious. Now, I only have a limited amount of supplies for that, but that is off the hook if you like coffee cocktails. It's not very sweet. It's not creamy. It's more like a coffee flavor that has the edge taken off with some rye in it and some other goodies. So it's delicious. We actually need to name the drink in the next week and a half. Pack Rat says, welcome to the live, Chestnut. I don't know why she's so clingy today. It's probably because this morning she went out to pee and I'm calling her in so Cece can go out to pee. And she was ignoring me, right?
I think she was actually looking for another place to take a leak. Okay.
And then she was going to come. Except for then one of our neighbors shot a deer and it was a big boom and she like ran as fast as her little doggy legs could carry her into the house. She was like, oh, I ignored mom, run. So thank you, neighbor, for training my dog. Also, my dog is apparently afraid of gunshots. Yeah. So anyway, those are the treats we'll have. It's going to be a really good time. I'm looking forward to that party and I hope to see a bunch of you there. That's, what is it? SOEparty.com. Right, Carrie? Anyway, if you go to Special Operations Equipment website, it's actually a product on their website as well. But I believe SOE Party or compoundparty.com will redirect to the product there. It's a free RSVP, or you can upgrade to a VIP pass to get some extra things. Okay. There was a live shooter in Smithville yesterday. SOEparty.com. I was right the first time. I shouldn't have tried to update my idea, of course, because that would be the easiest one. That's the smart one. That's the one you can remember. Did you know there was a live shooter in Smithville yesterday?
I knew somebody was shooting somebody.
Yeah, so I missed all of it because I was doing my errands and I was not bringing my phone into the store with me.
That was a dumb idea.
Why?
Because you didn't get the memo about the fact that there was an active shooter.
But I wasn't in Smithville.
What if it had been in Cookeville?
That's a good point. So I didn't even know about it. I got home from doing errands and I helped moderate the community Facebook group. And one of the moderators posted a screenshot of 90 requests to join the group.
Yeah.
90. And it's a private group, so you can't see it unless you join it. That's the deal. And I ended up, she was like, what in the world? And I was like, I don't know. And then I went to go help approve 90 people or not approve 90 people. And there were only 6 left. And they had not filled out the questions. So I declined them all. And then it was 0. And then I didn't think anything of it. Still didn't know there'd been an active shooter. And then I went to bed and I got up this morning and talked to that moderator. I'm like, I don't know why that happened. She's like, it was probably the shooting in Smithville yesterday. I'm like, huh? And then I read about it. Here's what happened. The active shooter was not the bad guy. The shots that were fired came from the police. And basically 2 people allegedly murdered a man in his home and robbed him in a totally different part of the state and fled when they were being pursued. Ended up in Smithville, Tennessee, where they have a friend who was helping them hide. And then the local police, in partnership with other police, figured out where they were, got one of them, and then the person who was housing them used her car to help the other person get away. And it was a man and a woman who committed the original crime. And as they were trying to get away, they hit an officer. So that's never good. And then shots were fired. And then eventually they were caught. And the 2 who committed the original crime are back in the county where that happened and have been charged with murder. And the one who was here is in our county jail and has been charged with helping the murderers, basically. Allegedly helping the murderers, because none of it's been through court. So it's all alleged. But that was the whole story. But what locals knew is they heard guns being fired and cars running away. And I imagine that the chatter on the group, I didn't go back because I didn't feel like it was worth my time after knowing what had happened to go look at the drama of everybody figuring out what was going on. I didn't go back and read any of that. Yeah. So that happened. Why do I bring this up on a Homestead podcast?
I mean, we've had a couple of incidents with people flee. Like, literally, there was a dude running from the cops that came down our road, went across the dam. I don't remember what
almost
happened.
hit me, actually, and the dogs.
And
I don't think he's ever heard since the words that came out of my mouth at the volume that came out of my mouth when that happened.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. All I know is I almost got hit by this guy fleeing, and I yelled at him for driving so fast, having saved the dogs. And all tactical news, he heard I was yelling, didn't know what I was yelling, and was wondering if he needed to come down there and kick some ass. I think that's how that went down.
Yeah, probably.
And then I queued up to tell you why I was yelling, because I was like, he probably can hear me all the way down the holler right now. And then I apologized to my neighbor in front of whose house I also lost my shit. I was really mad. I don't get furious, guys, but that, like, it's the fear, right? The fear factor makes you furious. And had I been hit by the truck, I would have probably died. He was going about 50 down my road.
Yeah.
It was fast. And we got him on camera because there's cameras here. So, yeah. So the reason I bring it up is, situational awareness. I should have had my phone on me so I would have heard them talking about it, or they could have texted me and I would have read it later. But it is helpful to know when those things are happening. And the funny thing is, last night before I left, the little voice was like, make sure you're armed. The little voice has been saying that to me a lot lately.
Yeah.
So
I mean, things are weird right now.
Yeah. So anyway, that's all the stuff that's been happening in the holler. I don't see other topics that have been brought up. So we're going to wrap it up here, unless in the next, 15 seconds or so, you get your question in. Otherwise, we'll be on hold till next week. Next week's schedule, I'm doing a Monday show, but no Tuesday show. And we're doing a Friday show. I decided not to do an interview show Tuesday because I did a show every day this week. And I actually need the time during Christmas rush to be producing coffee and shipping coffee and not doing shows. So it seemed like a good one. And then I think we're doing the first Tuesday with John and Jack. I will verify that with John and Jack because we have, just because it's the Tuesday before John's party. So he'll either really want to do it or he'll be like, man, I got stuff to do. So I got to reach out to him and see if he wants to do that. But he's usually down. And if not, I'll probably just go live with Jack in that point and have a fun conversation with Jack. So that's what's happening in the future. We will be keeping Letty was asking me if I'm keeping the 3-show schedule through the end of the year. I'm keeping it through December 20th. And then I take my usual 2 weeks off. So, but yes, my last show for the year is December 20th. We usually talk about the word of the year, but that's also a Friday. So it's a Homestead Happenings show. Have you guys started thinking about your word? Have you started thinking about your word of the year?
I don't do that.
I don't do that. Yeah, I've been talking to Jenny a bit about it. She's not shared her word of the year, but I think she has narrowed it down to 1 or 2. And it's a good time to assess how your word of the year went and what your new year word of the year will be. Homestead Glamour wants to say, do you still have red and green holiday coffee bags? I do not. I can order them, but to order them, I need to order them in high amounts. So it depends. I stopped doing the tiny little bags because they were popular the first year, but not as popular. So we do the sampler packs in black and white bags now, which we can do year round. But if you have a special need or a special request for something like that, it takes about a week turnaround to order bags, depending on if they are in stock. And you can email me, Nicole@livingfreeintennessee.com, and I will be happy to do a few more custom orders this year. I have 3 custom corporate clients right now to produce. Most of them want it all in the same week. So we are filling up if you want it that week, but we can do it the week later. It just depends on how close to Christmas you want to be. First week of December is always like corporate. And what happens then is people are like, oh, I need my gifts mailed. Gifts. So that's usually when I have mom in here. And then, of course, first week of December, we're getting ready for the SOE party. So it's going to be a good time here. I'm looking forward to sleeping for New Year's.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you like the show and want to support the work we're doing here, you can do it in 2 ways. 1, get your coffee at hollerroast.com. 2, consider becoming a member. Head over to livingfreeintennessee.com to find out more. With that, go out, make it a great week.